question is, would this have been made if not for...
Remember Chuck E. Cheese? That old arcade with the singing animatronics?
If not for the conspiracy video by Shane
I just found out
Dawson.
they went bankrupt recently. It made me think back
Let me
to
know
my
in the comments.
horrible
Maybe I'm
experience
wrong.
there as
Maybe.
a very little kid. I was playing the games that
I
would get me the
remember
most
that
tickets for
game
the
that
prizes.
we didn't have Chuck E.
I
Cheese
finished
in
the
my
game again,
hometown.
and the ticket shot out from the ticket slot. That's when I felt a tap on my shoulder.
Ron's
I turned and jumped in my
Virtual
seat.
World
I
in
was
Thunder
greeted with
Bay.
a giant
They have
Chuck E.
that.
Cheese
It's
mascot in
called
my
something
face.
else now.
He held out his hand for a high five, and naturally I gave him his high five with a smile. He then pointed at the tickets and gave me a thumbs up. I think I just continued laughing and smiling and said, yeah. Then he pointed at the tickets once more and motioned for me to follow him.
That's creepy.
So I ripped the tickets from the slot and followed the giant mascot. As we walked across the main floor, a couple other kids around like 6 came up to him saying, "Hey Chucky," and he gave them both high fives.
Hey, Chucky.
I kept following him, wondering if he'd tell the other kids to follow, but he didn't. He would turn back every few seconds to make sure I was still following.
What?
Finally, we made it across the main floor by
Chuck
the
E. Cheese
stage towards
employees
this back
sketchy.
area, where he waved me to follow him through this employees-only door.
Oh no.
What I remember about how I was feeling,
This is
let's
bad.
just say a combination of weird and excited. We entered this narrow hallway.
Just
I
a
felt
kid.
kind of special for being allowed access back here.
Oh man.
Keep in mind, I had the mind and maturity of a very young child.
Yes, that's what I'm keeping in
The
mind.
mascot led me to this back room where he motioned for me to enter first, so I did. It was this small changing room type of room. It had a few
isn't
lockers
right.
on one wall and one long bench extending half the length of the room. That was it.
Dude.
He entered the room and shut the door behind us, and I noticed he locked it. That's when I became confused and afraid.
Yep.
I thought he was taking me to get a bunch of free tickets. He started to remove the rest of the costume from himself as he told me to be quiet. I sat there watching, shaking, and plotting my way for the door.
And I legitimately
When
I
I
don't
thought he
even
was
mean
distracted enough
no
by
offense,
the suit,
honestly.
I tried to run past him for the door, but he grabbed me and told me to stop. He offered me all the free tickets I wanted if I just behaved. I started to yell
Why
and
am I
pound on
laughing?
the door. He tried to cover
nervous,
my
I'm
mouth,
scared.
but I think he gave up when he realized it wasn't worth the risk for him. Pretty soon, all the music was stopped, and the place was put into a lockdown of sorts, where all the kids were to go to their parents. A bunch of workers ran to the back section, and eventually
Is this
police
what
showed up
happens
outside.
if this were to
I
happen?
had to give my whole story.
Do
to
they have a
crowd of
procedure
like
for
6
this kind of
people,
thing?
And I was extremely nervous.
Wow.
The man in the Chucky suit was some random creep who snuck into the back section of the building to dress in one of the suits and apparently lure children to the back.
He wasn't even an
Realizing and
employee.
looking back at that now as a grown adult is disturbing and disgusting. That I was the victim of a predator. I never found out if that monster was caught.
What? Oh man. That's insane. It's horrible.
I used to work for Chuck E. Cheese very briefly when I was 21 years old. I was one of the janitors slash maintenance workers.
When he was 21.
No, not very awe-inspiring.
Different
I was
context.
broke as hell and needed
Different
money.
point of view.
All my job really entailed was cleaning tables and keeping the play areas generally clean. Sounds
I don't think I've ever
easy,
been
but
to
there
Chuck
was
E.
never really a
Cheese.
time
Y'all
to
think
just
they
sit and
actually
take a
do that with the
breath.
pizza?
There was always something to clean or take care of. I would stay an hour, sometimes 2 hours after, to get the place in top shape ready for the next day. So this one night,
Okay.
I was working past close like I usually did. Everyone had already left the building, including the other workers. So
Even
I
though
was
I've
the
never been
last
to a
one in
Chuck
the
E.
building.
Cheese,
I was
most
dragging my cleaning cart around the
kid-friendly
arcade area.
places,
Already
theaters
turned
and
off all the
stuff will
game
have like an
machines.
area like this.
I was by that space-themed arcade machine
Someday
where you had to
cares.
press the button at the right moment to stop the light on the jackpot.
This is
bowl.
nostalgic, my point
As I was
being.
passing by this
Don't you wish
machine,
you were a kid again?
space-themed music suddenly emits from the machine at a very loud volume, and all the lights start flashing again. I felt like my heart was in my throat. That's how much it startled me. I fiddled with my keys to access the control port of the machine to turn it off again. I'd never seen anything like that happen before. It suddenly just freaked me out.
Okay, is it
Only
paranormal
because I
this
was all
time?
alone in that big building pretty late at night.
That would be cool.
The weirdness didn't stop there, though. By this point in the night, I had already shut down the
think
animatronics on the
time.
stage. So when I heard Chucky's pre-recorded laugh break the silence of the room,
Oh,
my heart started pounding again. The laugh was short and cut off.
Is this
It
a
almost
prank
sounded
or-
glitchy. I ditched my cleaning cart to go backstage and check on the animatronics, and I could see they were in their idle modes now, meaning they would move their limbs and heads around every so often.
Really?
I would have to go to the control room to turn them off, but
This is all stuff we can look up and
strange thing
confirm.
to happen that night. I started getting paranoid that someone else was in the building with me, but that thought was interrupted when I noticed that the Chucky animatronic was facing me, and its head angled down perfectly to look as though it was looking at me.
Oh, man.
It was bizarre.
Oh,
Bizarre that I was
yeah.
finding it that disturbing. I'm not crazy, but for my own peace of mind, with my eyes
Even
on
if
the
that was a
Chucky
coincidence, that
animatronic,
would
I walked past it,
be
closer
so
to
creepy.
the control room. I waited there for a few seconds, and then the animatronic spun 90 degrees to face me once more, perfectly. I swear it was
Maybe
once
it's
again
just the way
looking
it
right at
glitches.
me, and then the laughter emitted once again from the animatronic. But in a creepy, glitchy,
Ghost.
cut-off manner. This time much louder, obviously because I was right next to it.
Please be a
I
ghost.
ran to the control room to hit the switch to turn everything off on the stage once more. And when I asked him if the animatronics had some kind of motion detecting feature to look at people,
What do you say?
he said it didn't. I'm not the most superstitious guy, but I firmly believe I wasn't the only presence in that building that night.
No, it was
I don't
paranormal.
mean there
dude.
was another person in there.
I appreciate that story a lot because it leaves the possibility open that it was a ghost, and I saw this ad coming, so we are going to bypass it by doing some hotkey stuff. Okay, story number 3.
This is a story from my childhood that I don't like to look back on too much. I was 13. My mom brought my 2 little sisters and I to Chuck E. Cheese one evening. My sisters are 4 and 6 years younger
It's
than
supposed
me,
to be the worst
so
one.
it was more for them. My mom just
Usually
wanted
how
me to
they're
come
ordered.
along. My mom was playing games with my sisters,
I'll
so
be
I
the
went to do
judge.
my own thing. He was in his lower to mid-20s, I'd say.
Oh no,
He
is
didn't
this
seem that
another
old.
Predator story?
He asked me if I wanted some more tokens. I said, yeah, sure. He told me to follow him. He led me
Crap.
through this sketchy back door, which led to a back exit. I asked him where he was leading me. He said to his truck. He told me not to tell anyone, but
That
that he
was
had
quick.
access to all the tokens he wanted and just kept piles
No,
of them in his
dude.
car. I stopped following when I realized he was leading me to his car. I told him my mom would be mad. He tried to push that I follow him a little
lying at
more, but gave
chat.
up. Before I walked back inside, he asked for my AIM username, and I gave it to him. I was excited
now
for
I'm
new friends on
terrified.
AIM. For those of you who don't know, AIM was an instant messenger that was all the rage before smartphones and texting really became a thing.
Was it?
I don't remember his username. All I know is
Sounds
was something
familiar.
with
Is
his
that an
name in it,
AOL
which was
thing?
Ben.
I never used
I would
AOL.
sign on to AIM every single night, including that night after Chuck E. Cheese. I signed in, and I had a few friends online.
How long ago? Well, this is
Thing I
Chuck E.
knew,
Cheese.
I got a message from Ben,
There's a
so I
story
added
when
him
this
to
dude
my
was a
buddy
kid.
list. He said, "Hey, it's Ben from earlier."
So far, it's
I
believable.
replied, "What's up?" and we started chatting.
Oh
He
God.
chatted with me as if we were good friends already.
Yep. This.
I asked him
does
how
not
he was able
sound-
to get all the tokens
It
he
sounds
wanted.
real,
He
but
said
not-
it's easy when
does
you
not
work
sound
there. He told me he was going to come to my house that night with a bunch of tokens. I told him, no,
Tokens?
it's okay. And he told me, no,
Chuck
it's
E.
fine.
Cheese
You're
token. Really?
close to me anyway. I replied, how do you know where I live? And he said he followed my mom's van on our way home.
Ah.
I blocked his account immediately. I was beyond scared. I told my friends about it on AIM.
Terrible.
Some of them said I should tell my parents or call the police. But I waited.
Buddy
He was
waited.
bluffing. But no, he wasn't.
That's not
I
what
heard
you
a truck
do.
pull up outside
Now
through
we
my
know.
open window. And saw the black truck that Ben guy was leading me towards earlier. I saw him get out from the truck, and I know he spotted me.
This Chuck E.
because he
Cheese one
started
may be the
walking over
best
to my
one.
window. I pulled the window in and locked it, and then shut the blind. By that point, he was already halfway to my window, and he was waving his arms at me. My parents called the police.
If
of
you
course,
blocked him, you should
but that
still
was
have
just
his
for peace
email.
of mind. They couldn't
Even
do
if he's
anything
deleted,
besides
because
make
you
a
can check
report.
your block list.
The next day, my mom called the Chuck E. Cheese and asked about
You
it.
might
then.
not have known that.
They said they
though.
had no
It's
Bens who
possible.
worked there. There were also no employees matching that guy's description.
I'm talking about
eventually
MSN,
handed the
though.
CCTV
Maybe it's not the
footage
same
from
with
the day before to
whatever
the
he was
police
using.
department investigation, which turned up no results. My family never went to a Chuck
No
E. Cheese
results.
ever
He
again.
worked there. Unless he didn't. Because I was talking over that detail. But Wow.